In this Centra screencast, we're going to look at some of the typical errors which users can come across. So this is basically a troubleshooting exercise. Firstly, users need to be very clear on the domain that they are actually have their credentials within. There are 180 domains within the Centra environment, and typically they have the following URL: www.centra.sa.edu.au/main/ and there will be then a few letters at the end which will be the descriptor for their particular domain, and they need to go to the right domain. Next one is they need to have their correct credentials to log into that domain, and sometimes users confuse or mix up these credentials with other credentials for other domains and applications. And once they're logged into the My Schedule page, they're going to see an event which they are presumably going to lead, or they could be a participant, and then they'll have the word attend. And to get into the session, in this case it's leading, they click on the lead button and they'll get into the session. And while waiting for us to connect to the server, once we're in the environment itself, there are some other issues to consider where we can have some typical problems. Okay, once we are in the session, for the session to actually begin effectively, you need to actually click on the begin button. Otherwise, no content will be displayed, despite the fact that you've got content here and you're clicking on the various slides in this presentation. The end user will not see that unless you've clicked the begin button. Also, if you wished for the session to be recorded, you need to select the recording button when you were setting up the session, and you know that the session is being recorded because it shows you at the bottom of the screen that it's being recorded. Okay, that's one part of it. Okay. Secondly, you need to run the audio wizard, and this can cause problems for some users. The audio wizard walks you through very easily with a step-by-step process to make sure that your speakers and microphone are working. And typically the sort of issues which people come across is they've plugged in their headsets into the wrong inputs on the laptop or the desktop machine they're using. So the audio wizard is critical, and that's something every user should run through each time they run a session. Also, in terms of the Centra client, if you're working within the DECD corporate sector, as of the time of producing this screencast, Centra is some software which can now be downloaded to any corporate user very easily, despite the fact that they are managed desktops within a school environment. In many schools, teachers have access to computers which are managed, and so they would need to work with their network manager to allow the Centra client to be installed onto a machine they wish to use. And some schools install these across the board using group policies. Secondly, in terms of support for Centra, if there are any issues which crop up and are not able to be solved at the local level, the customer support centre are now well versed in supporting Centra, and they've had a number of years of experience, and they have scripts which detail guidelines to resolve issues which end users may be experiencing. And it's very important that if end users are experiencing issues, that they report them to the customer support centre, so there is a record of the nature of the issues being encountered, because it may build up a picture or a profile of perhaps a bug which needs a fix. So they are some of the typical troubleshooting ways to move through the Centra environment to have a successful experience.